Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining me here today at Rewritten Vintage Homestead. I hope everybody's doing really great. Spring's on the way. I noticed my trees outside are starting to bud, and I've got some lilies coming up, so I'm excited about that. Um, a couple weeks ago, several videos ago, at the height of the Ukraine Russia conflict, a lot of the news stations were talking about nuclear weaponry. And it just got me to thinking, did I know what to do if something like that should happen? And no, I don't. And so I did some investigating. I have a family member that works for Homeland Security. And so she sent me to the website to go to that gives you instructions on what you should do. So I felt like that would be something that would be beneficial to all of my like-minded Facebook friends to know what to do in case of a nuclear attack of some kind. Now, nuclear doesn't mean it has to be a bomb. It can be something that they just carry, across the border. Um, so I think a lot of people, when you talk about nuclear, they think it's going to be a big bomb. But it could also be like Chernobyl. It could also be like the nuclear power plant that was getting attacked just a week or so ago in Ukraine. So, some more investigating I did on that was that the Chernobyl crisis, when that happened, um, and nuclear fallout did happen because of that plant. Uh, the majority of people who did die because of that died because of cancer that they got. So, had they have known to run, to get into a shelter, to stay there for 24 to 48 hours, to not eat anything that you had outdoors, to wash everything off, it may have helped. It may have helped some of these cancer cases. So, that's just guessing, but I always think being prepared is better than being not prepared. Well, it was interesting because I didn't mean anything political by that post. Um, and it was one of my most viewed videos so far. On my own channel, it had 146 views. And other than my introductory videos, that's the most I've had so far. But I also belong to a homesteading channel that, like-minded YouTubers post their videos on there and, try to get like-minded people to follow their channels. And so I did that. Well, that one got 316 views, 90 comments, and my video was shared 66 times. So that's good. So I was thinking, well, good. I've hit a nerve and I'm really going to educate people here. And I was excited about that until I started reading the comments. And, of course, the comments turned political. I had a man and a woman literally arguing with each other the entire day over politics. And then I had some funny comments too, and some insulting comments towards me. But it just, made me realize that we need Jesus. We need Jesus. I wanted to talk to you about scripture cake. My mom gave me a whole stack of old country living magazines, and I have been having a blast with them. And one of them had recipes from grandma's time. So we're talking 20s, 30s. And there were a lot of cake recipes in there, and one of them was called scripture cake. So I did some investigating on that, and I found that that was a very popular cake in Appalachia country, and that it was used for young women when they were learning how to bake, to also learn Bible verses. So they would give an instruction as to you need a half a cup of this, a cup of that. But instead of saying what it was, like butter or sugar, they would send you to a Bible verse and you had to look it up and figure it out. So there's many interpretations of the scripture cake. For example, one verse could mention more than one ingredient, like honey and spices and salt. So some women would think, oh, well, they're talking about honey, and they would add honey, where another woman would say they're talking about salt. So you can find all kinds of different versions of it. But I thought it would be fun if we get back to some religion, learn some Bible verses, and make a scripture cake and have some fun. But also to have some fun throughout this video, I'm going to read you some of the comments that I got on my nuclear preparedness video for a couple laughs too. I hope you guys have a good time. Let's go. So the first thing you want to do is an 8x8 or a 9x9 inch square pan. You want to grease and flour it, and you want to preheat your oven to 350. The first ingredient is a half a cup of Judges 5:25. And the verse is, he asked for water, and she gave him milk in a bowl, fit for nobles. She brought him curdled milk. And so the curdled milk is a half a cup of butter. The next ingredient is a half a cup of Jeremiah 6:20, and that is, to what purpose come here to me incense from Sheba, and the sweet cane from a far country. And so the sweet cane is brown sugar. So we're going to add a half a cup of brown sugar. Is Jeremiah 17:11. We need 2 of these. Let's see if you can guess this one. As a partridge that hatched eggs, which it has not laid, so is he who makes an unjust fortune. That one was easy. We're going to add 2 eggs. Keep your shells. Put them in your compost pile. Next ingredient is we need 2 cups of 1 Kings 4:22. And that is, Solomon's daily provisions were 30 cars, about 5.5 tons, I looked that up, of the finest flour. So we're going to need 2 cups of flour. I'm going to show you guys this when I get ready to mix it up. The next is we're going to add a half a teaspoon of Amos 4:5, burned leavened bread as a thanks offering. So what's a leavening agent? Baking soda. So we're going to add a half a teaspoon of baking soda. I was reading something about baking soda the other day when I was researching this scripture cake. And you know, before like the 1900s, they would use wood ash as a leavening agent. Could you imagine? I'm just going to go clean out the fireplace and add it to my cake. But they had to have something to work as a leavening agent. So sometimes their baked goods turned out, sometimes they didn't. Okay, and then I'm going to add 1/4 of a cup of Exodus 16:31. It was white like coriander seed and tasted like wafers with honey. That's right. It's 1/4 a cup of honey. The next is 1/4 a cup of Judges 4:19. She opened a bottle of milk and gave him a drink. That one was easy, wasn't it? So we're going to add 1/4 cup of milk. Ingredient number 8 is a half a cup of 1 Samuel. And they gave him a piece of cake of figs and 2 clusters of raisins. So you can add chopped figs to this if you would like. I don't like the taste of figs, so I'm going to add a half a cup of raisins. I love raisins. That That was ingredient number 8. We're almost done. Ingredient, could you imagine? So I looked up all my Bible verses last night. But if you were a young woman in the early 1900s and you were told that you had to look up the verses or know them by heart and bake the cake at the same time, how long that would take you. So then number 9 is a half a cup of Numbers 17:8. The next day Moses entered the tent and saw that Aaron's staff had not only sprouted but had budded and blossomed and produced almonds. That was easy. So that's a half a cup of nuts. If you don't have almonds, I'm going to use pecans. Don't ever let a recipe tie your hands. So if you don't have one thing, see if you can substitute another. So I'm going to add those in. And the final ingredient is 1 teaspoon of 2 Chronicles 9:9. And that is, then she gave the king 120 talents of gold, large quantities of spices, and precious stones. Well, I'm not going to add rocks. And I don't have any gold. But in biblical times, spices were just as valuable as gold. So they were hard to get. And so in this recipe, we're going to add 3/4 teaspoon cinnamon. I imagine only the wealthy were able to have the spices. And then we're going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of cloves. And I'm going to mix all this up together with the mixer. I'll spare your eardrums, but I'll show you what it looks like when we're done. So once you have everything mixed together, you have a really thick batter. And it looks like a coffee cake batter to me. Now we're going to put this in our pan and we're going to bake it 350 degrees for 45 to 50 minutes, depending on your oven. I always bake mine until the lowest time that they offer so that I can test it. The directions say when the center springs back, but I'll probably stick a toothpick in there, and if it comes out clean, I know it's done. So we'll take a look as soon as I get it out of the oven. Blah, 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 blah. Good Lord. Just get to the point. I couldn't even watch it all. If there's a nuclear conflict, I won't let anyone in the shelter who's had a higher credit score than me. Make sure to maintain 6 feet between people and to wear a mask. Just give me enough time to drink my coffee and smoke my joint, and I'll be ready. Why does everybody like this video? Put your head between your legs and kiss your ass goodbye. Excuse me, ma'am. If the world's going to blow up, could you redirect me to your red clover jelly? Well, I hope you guys had fun today hearing the comments from my previous video and making a scripture cake. And I wanted to share one other story with you about when I was younger. I used to go to the Nazarene church, and I would walk there on Sundays for Sunday school. And there was another girl in my class. We were about 13 years old, and her name was Karen. And I know Karen is a subscriber, so I hope she's watching. Of course, you know, Karen was beautiful. Karen was really, really smart. And boy, she knew her Bible. And our teacher told us that we were going to have a contest, and that every Sunday up until the contest, we would practice. And what it was she would give us a Bible verse, and whoever could jump up first and start reading the verse would get a point. Whoever had the most points on that Sunday would win. I'm just teasing you. Would win a beautiful bookmark of the 10 Commandments. Well, I know you're not supposed to covet. That's one of the 10 Commandments. But boy, I was following that thing like a golden calf. I mean, I had to have that bookmark. So I studied day in, day out, day in, day out. But beating Karen was going to be a real feat, because the teacher would no sooner say Roma, and then boy, she was jumped up. She was ready. So it took a lot of practice on my part. So when the day of the contest came, I was so nervous, but I was so motivated and I was so ready. And I probably caught Karen on a day where she overslept, but I won. And I still have it. I was about 13 years old when I won the 10 Commandments bookmark. That's something I'll never get rid of. I love it. And I wish I could say I was able to do that with our scripture cake, but I'm rusty these days, so I had to look up our verses. So I hope you all have a blessed week. Like I said, spring's on the way. Let's stay positive and have a great week.